Hello, welcome to this session where you will learn about what's new with our latest release of VoltMX codenamed Einstein. My name is Suhas Bhatt. I'm the Director of Product Management for HCL VoltMX, and I'm being joined by Shovik De and Shalini Sharma from the VoltMX Product Management team, who will be walking you through some of the cool new features that have been released as part of this edition codenamed Einstein. So we have a standard statement that statements regarding plans and directions are subject to change. So let's start with the vision and the roadmap themes that drive VoltMX, right? So VoltMX has been driven by the four themes on creating high fidelity multi experiences on any device, being able to create true low to pro code application development with no limits, whether it is in terms of integration, automation, platform, or channels, what you are building for. You should be able to build for anything, and you should have a complete spectrum, whether it is a citizen developer, professional developer, IT governed citizen development. It should be able to support everything. So that is one of our roadmap themes. Be able to support powerful, secure and governed software development lifecycle, as well as open development and deployment strategies, whether it is Kubernetes, whether it is on-premise, whether it is private cloud, public cloud, macOS, Windows OS. We want to be able to support you where you are. So these are the themes that drive our roadmap. And we had released a big release called as codenamed Curie at the end of 2022. And this release which has been codenamed Einstein, and we are gonna use this session to learn what we have, all the latest and greatest features as part of this release. So with that said, let's jump on to the first major feature released in Einstein, Volt IQ, which is our AI assisted development. So what exactly can Volt IQ do? Right? It can do several things, and we are gonna show you demos about all the pieces. But to start with, it is an AI assistant that is integrated into the IDE Volt Iris to answer queries like a chat, right? It can execute commands via natural language instructions. It can deduct what you are building in your screen if you allow design suggestions, and provide suggestions for you to create your screens. It can help you optimize the code, remove unused variables. It can even translate the applications that you are building. With that said, now I'll hand it over to Shovik to walk you through the Volt IQ features.
Chat functionality. In addition to providing information about configuration and details of the current project and Iris or Foundry instance, the AI assistant can identify queries from and provide answers to an up-to-date repository of frequently asked questions accumulated from our support forums. For any other technical queries, it can scan through community posts, YouTube submissions, HCL Marketplace samples, and hikes. Such searches are performed against all configured lookup channels, unless the developer specifies a channel using the @handle, like @community or @YouTube. Volt IQ can be launched from the small dialog icon at the bottom left corner of the screen. Once launched, it is only polite to engage in pleasantries before moving the conversation forward. Let us ask Volt IQ some questions about our current project, like its name, its location, etc. Let's ask IQ about our current installation. What is the version of the Iris we are using? What is the version of the Foundry we are connecting to? Let's ask Iris, how do we update the version? Next, let's ask how to create a new project. You can see VoltIQ has searched multiple channels and provided the best results that are relevant to our query. Let us attempt to search one more time, but this time we are selecting a particular channel. Let us search for building apps in our community channel. Look at the relevant articles. Let us make the same search against YouTube. Lastly, let us trigger the same search terms against our hikes. Execute natural language commands. VoltIQ can identify commands entered in natural language and execute a corresponding set of actions. Additionally, it provides autocomplete suggestions that lead to variants of the command being typed. For example, typing create will prompt us with various options like create a project, create a form, or create component, etc. User can either click on one of the suggestions or ignore and phrase their input in any way they want. If not matched to any VoltIris commands, the input is treated as a query and searched as previously described. For any commands that require further input from the developer, they will be prompted for any additional information. Let's take a look at how VoltIQ works with commands. We start by asking it to create a new project for us. We enter all the details for this project, including the name, and click on Create. Now we have a new project with a single mobile form called Form 1. Let us add a new form to it. And now we have a Form 2. Let us add a widget to Form 1 to make it more visually distinct. And move on to creating a component in the same application. We ask IQ to create a component for us. It prompts us, do we need one with contract or one without? So we select with contract and we enter the details for the new component. If we go to templates, we should be able to see the new component listed. Let us try to preview this application. We ask IQ to launch the preview settings. From there, we select the channel and click on Run. Once complete, we should be able to preview this new application. Design suggestions. If the design suggestions feature is enabled, which can be done via a command to the assistant itself, VoltIris can track updates to forms and provide design suggestions as long as the number of added widgets is more than 3. It can look up any of the bundle components or HCL Marketplace submissions that match a similar pattern and allow the user to import those to replace the widgets they were manually adding. VoltIQ can track changes being made to a form and provide suggestions on how it believes the form can evolve. Let us take a look at this feature by turning on the suggestions. Then we can continue adding widgets and we can accept the suggestions. We see that it has suggested a login page. Let us take the login page that it has suggested to us and add it to our project. This is one of the pre-bundled components and it replaces the contents of our existing form. Let us repeat this exercise with a new form. We start by adding text boxes and buttons like before. Once we have added 3 widgets, it asks us whether we want suggestions. Again, this time we select a marketplace asset. It launches the marketplace from within Volt Iris and gives us the option to add this component to our collection library from where we can use it. Code optimization. Volt IQ provides a set of optimizations the developer can scan against and apply to their projects. In cases where there are certain exceptions to an optimization rule, for example, a skin that is not directly attached to a widget but conditionally assigned via code at runtime is an exception to the rule of deleting all unused skins. In such conditions, users can define the whitelists accordingly under project settings. Your projects may contain unused assets and other errors. Volt IQ can help you fix these. Let us start by creating a duplicate skin, and we already have an unused component from before. Let's ask IQ to open the AI Development Assistant and take a look at the rules. For this exercise, we will choose to remove unused skins, components, and resources. Let us analyze our project and take a look at the summary. There are 11 unused skins, 1 unused component, and 34 unused resources. We can expand each of the categories to see which assets flag that exception. We will select components and resources for cleanup. Once this action is complete, let's run the analysis again to see the results. Only unused skins error remain. There are 12 because we deleted a component and that orphaned a skin. If we go into the list of themes, we can see that no skins have been touched. However, if we go into templates, we would be able to see that the unused component has been removed. Let us clean up the unused skins via a command from the IQ chat. It executes the command and reloads the project with the unused skins removed, as we can see. What if we need to create an exception to a rule, a skin or an asset that we need to protect that should not be cleaned up whenever the rules are executed? We can go into project settings under AI Assistant Rule Set and create a whitelist of items that need not be analyzed whenever a rule is applied. Application Auto-Translate. Volt IQ can leverage the Google Translation endpoints to gather and translate all design time strings within your application. If Google Translate supports a language, your application can be translated to it with a single command. You can use IQ to translate your application to any language supported by Google Translate. You start by enabling internationalization for your application, and now you can see that it supports multiple locales. And we can ask IQ to translate our application to a language, in this case, German. We wait for it to translate the application, and once it refreshes the project, we should be able to see the application in German. You can see German is an additional locale. The original English strings still exist and you can switch between them. Let us try this one more time and translate it to a language not of the Latin charset. And our application has been translated to Japanese. You can see Japanese added as a locale. From IQ, you can open the I18N settings and view all the strings that have been generated.
And now let's look at our next biggest feature that has been released, which is the ability to build native application, desktop application for Windows and macOS, right? So this is kind of also a unique differentiator in the market, in the sense, along with the support for all the tablets and smartwatches and mobiles and desktop web, progressive web, responsive web, now we have the ability to build native macOS and Windows. Windows has been available in one form or the other even earlier, but now this is the first time we have added macOS, and we are trying to synchronize our architecture so that it is going to be easier for us to support more desktop platforms like Linux, which will come out in the future release. So this application that is being built is built as a new channel. It will have full native performance. For example, if you're building for Windows, it will be able to run as an exe or as an MSI installer. You can create a DMG or a .app for Mac, and we'll have Shalini from my team who's going to walk you through the features of how we are going to build this and use this feature for Windows, and Shavik is going to show something similar for macOS. Over to you, Shalini.
A desktop native app structure is the same as any application you build on other channels on Voltamex. Now I'll walk you through creating a new project and exploring some key features. Then I'll give you a small demo of the sample app that we've built, highlighting some key functionalities. To begin, we'll create a new project in Volt Iris, which is our development environment. We'll click on Project in the menu bar, then select New Project. We'll choose the native app for the type and pick the desktop for the target device size. We'll give our project a name. I'm just giving it any name here. And then create. Now that our project is created, let's look at some general features. You'll find your application forms under responsive web or desktop in the Project Explorer on the left. Now this is also where you can configure your splash screen if you want. So when a form is selected, you can choose from the different platforms to show a device shell specific to the platform, and you can do that from the top over here. Now, if there are any specific properties that are available for native, you can configure them from the Properties tab itself on the right. Now, forms in Voltamex represent our desktop native applications windows. These forms have properties for managing size and state, such as minimizing, maximizing, restoring, or closing. These can be platform specific, as you can see over here. In addition to that, there are a set of actions your application can take when Windows events are triggered. You can access them through the Action tab. Now, there are general actions and one specific to the desktop Windows state. To create the application's UI, you can use widgets from the library. Each widget has properties for appearance and functionality customization, and you can do that through the Properties tab on the right. Now, let's explore some platform-specific project settings for macOS and Windows native platforms. Now, to access these settings, go to Project in the menu bar, then Settings, and then Native. You can also customize the application icons and handle application signing through here. Here you can configure the macOS specific settings. And here we have the Application UI tab for Windows settings. And then the Build Local tab for Windows settings. Now, Voltamex offers native function interfaces or NFIs, which allow you to extend your desktop native application by invoking additional modules to add new features. Now, these NFIs enable you to access local desktop resources like the camera. Now, I'll show you how we can add those NFIs in our desktop native applications. So for that, you need to go to the menu bar, Edit, and then Manage Native Function APIs. Choose the Desktop tab. In the pop-up, you can import the NFI, create a new NFI, or delete an existing one from your application. All enabled packages under the Desktop tab will get added to the desktop native application. If you want to import an NFI, simply select the zip file containing the NFI, and the file will identify the information related to the NFI and will get added to the list. To create a new NFI, we'll click the Create New button. Now here we can select the JavaScript file containing the API you want your application to access. I have a sample one already here, so I'm selecting that. Now the table will autofill with exported functions from the JavaScript file and their parameter names. You can choose to disable any function you don't want to include as APIs. Then we'll give an NFI name. We can select a version, and if there are any node module dependencies, we can select a JSON file in the add node dependencies field. Now I'm giving the API namespace and a description to describe the function that I want. Now we'll click create, and an NFI zip file with the specified name will be generated and saved to the workspace desktop native NFIs directory. I'll show you how we can utilize this in the actual app demo later. After creating your application forms, adding widgets, configuring properties, and setting up actions, it's time to build and run your desktop native app. Now for that, we'll go to build and then build native local. And from the post build action dropdown, we'll select generate native app. In the platform and channels table under the desktop channel, you can choose the option for local machine, app, or installer you want to build. Since this is Windows, you'll see options for Windows only. On the Mac, you'll have similar options specific to Mac OS. Now, Windows local machine app will generate an exe file and Windows installer will generate a MSI file. You can configure other build properties and then click build. Now, after the build is complete, you'll find the generated app in the workspace native apps folder, and the location of the file generated will be displayed in the console tab as well. From here, you can run the application to preview it. And if we click on the location, it will take you directly to the app. So that was it for the introduction and basic features. Now let's dive deep into the actual app demo. To save time, we have created an application and I'll walk you through its functionality step by step. Here is our landing page. We've set up a sample registration page for a company. In the Project Explorer on the left, you can see various forms we have. Currently, we have 2. Now we have used different widgets or input fields. Name, phone number, and email have text boxes as inputs. Gender is in a drop-down menu. For date of birth, we have a calendar widget, and account plan has the radio buttons. Now, native widgets will also have similar behavior, so we can use APIs to access native devices, and here we have added access to the native camera through the camera widget for capturing the image. We have added an action on its on-capture event for that. Now we can easily configure these widgets from the properties on the right. You can also access external content within your app. For instance, we have configured an embedded browser for terms and conditions, and clicking on it will open the terms and conditions in a native web browser. And we've configured it here in the action tab. Then we also have some buttons for certain actions. And the same NFI that we created earlier is already part of this app. We've utilized the NFI to export form data into an HTML file. And this functionality is accessible through the export button. Now let's take a look at this app in action. For that, we'll build the app first. So I'm going to build the app as I showed you before. I've selected the generate native app and I've selected both the Windows local machine app and installer for this. So our build has been completed. Now you can see the location of the app that I've created. And from here I can run and preview the app. You can see my app has been generated in the respective folder. Now I'm going to run the app. This is the splash screen that we've configured already. Now I'm just going to fill in the details. I'm adding the name, a phone number, email. I'll select the gender. Since this is just a demo, I'm choosing any date. And for account plan, I think I'll go with enterprise. Now I need to add a picture, so I'll click the add image button. Now I've captured my image, and for the terms and conditions, while I'll click on this, you can see I have an embedded browser over here. Then I'll tick the checkbox. Now I'll export the form contents in an HTML file, which I've added through an NFI. I've already given it the location I want to export it, and this is the HTML file. As you can see, I have all the contents. And that's it. I'll register, and my form has been submitted. To summarize what we did in the demo, we created a new desktop native application project. We configured some native project specific settings. We configured the properties and actions for the forms and widgets in the application. We extended the application with native function interfaces to add new features. And we also saw how the application can offer full offline capability and access to local desktop resources. Then we built and ran the application. Thank you.
Let's now take a look at the same project in a Mac environment. We can preview the app using a Mac canvas if we wish and trigger a build. We will select both app and installer for this example. Now that the build is complete, we can launch the app from Volt Iris if we wish. Alternatively, we can navigate to the output directory and take a look at the application and installer files. We have the application file, that is launch, and we can see the application. Let us take a look at the installer. If we launch the installer, we can add it to our applications.
And now let's look at our next major feature, which is basically an enhancement to the support of JavaScript that we have been having in Foundry. So Foundry has had JavaScript support for a while, but we have significantly enhanced the code editor that we have built into Foundry so that you have IntelliSense, auto completion of APIs, line numbers, search functionality, built-in samples, all enhancements to the IDE, or in this case the code editor built into Foundry, and updated the UI and UX for much better usability, and also updated the JS wrappers to align with the best practices so that it is a lot more easier and intuitive to code.
In Volt Foundry, our JavaScript-based pre- and post-processors have received an enhancement in the form of an updated code editor. In this exercise, we will be creating a preprocessor to add new input params. We maximize the view to gain more real estate and insert a code snippet. We create a new variable to hold a date input param that we will be inserting. You can see suggestions are provided at real time. We will be modifying the inserted code snippet with the new variable that we created and adding it to the list of input params. Indexing is done at real time, so if we rename any of the variables, the suggestions would update immediately, as seen in this case. Let us also take a quick look at the search feature. In this case, we search for all dates. Low-code support for Apple Watch. New Apple Watch models have been added to Canvas options to view your application on these devices at design time. Our action editor now also supports low-code development for Apple Watch applications via 22 configurable action types that can be combined in any sequence. In Volt Iris, we have added Canvas options for some of the newer Apple Watch models. Let us switch to one of them. Let us add a new action to the button. In this case, when we click on Start Timer, we want to set the properties of two icons. We want to turn the play icon invisible, and we want to display the pause icon. We can set it all through predefined action nodes in our action editor. Let us save this action. Now, whenever we look at this action, we can see its current configuration.
Thanks for listening in and learning about what's new with the Einstein release of HCL VoltMX. We have further resources if you are interested. We have the link for signing up for a free trial for HCL VoltMX, and we also have the training content on the HCL Software U, which provides free self-paced persona-based training to let you learn at your own pace what you want, whether you are a designer, you are a low-code application developer, professional application developer, or whether you are an admin. It gives you lessons based on each persona and lets you learn. And it also has certification exercise if you want to get certified with HCL VoltMX. I would highly recommend that you sign up for a free trial if you are not a customer already, and also join our training so that you can learn more about the product. Thank you.